Hello and welcome to another tutorial by LevelUp Networks. We're continuing the section of file sharing, file permissions or sharing permissions, and group policy. So in the previous tutorial, I showed you how to create some folders, how to give them the adequate permissions for your security groups, and how to sort of deal with the in-folder hierarchy with particular permissions as well. So what we're going to do now is we are going to create shared drives for the particular users through group policy management. So if we go back to our server, we will open group policy. So just hit start menu, group policy management is what we want. So essentially what we're going to do is that we are going to give access to our 3 users to different security groups. Okay, so if we expand the domains, let me just put it a bit more here, and group policy objects. Right, so we have on the domains our forests, and then we have our essentially it's our different OUs within the GPO. Okay, so we're going to set up different objects. So the first one we want to do is to create a new policy to assign shared drives for our people, for our staff. So if you right click on where it says group policy objects, just go to new, and we're going to call this shared drive. Shared drive finance. Press OK. Okay, so it has put it in there. So if we just click on it, it's going to load it up. So we're going to deal with this in a minute. First, we're going to do essentially just the settings, and then we're going to allocate it to the right people. So let's go to settings. Right, so here it tells us what settings or what permissions or what configuration we have for this particular group policy. So as you can see now, we don't really have anything. So we're just going to right click on it, and we're going to go to edit. So this is going to open our group policy management editor, and from here we need to choose the correct policy, and we need to define it. So in this case, we are doing the shared drive. So for this, we need to do it under user configuration. Then we expand, preferences, Windows settings, and here you can see where it says drive maps. So we click on drive maps. Then on the little white area here, we right click, we go to new, we go to new map drive. Right. So the action, do you want to create it, replace it, update, or delete it? Now, generally speaking, what we do here is that we would do, for example, an update. Now, why is this? So let's say, for example, you put create, and the user already has it. So essentially, yeah, in theory, it should just ignore the policy, but you don't want it to run into trouble should it not do what it's meant to do. So we're going to just do update. The location is pretty simple. You can just type out, or we can just hit the 3 dots here, and we find now, oh sorry, my bad, apologies, let's close that. So we need to type it. So this will be // we will put the name of the server, so it's win, let me just double check because I have forgotten the name of my server. So Win 2019. Okay. So it'll be Win 2019. It's not case sensitive, so don't worry. Then /, and this is the name of the share we want. Now, if you recall, finance should be just finance, but to double check it, just right click it, properties, sharing, and here it is. This is the actual network path. So you can just literally copy paste this. So we'll select it, copy it, so there's no mistakes. Of course, it's in the bottom of everything. Let's just minimize this. minimize that, minimize everything because it'll be here in the back. So let's just select it all and paste it. So you want to select it to reconnect every time. So we're going to put reconnect and label. So this is what you want to call it. Here's another chance for you to call it whatever you want. So we'll put it as finance. Finance. Now, if you don't want to use a particular letter, you can just say to use the first available. So in this case, it will be the F drive, which is the one we want. But let's say we wanted a different drive, then you have to go to use, and we'll select it. So we'll put F for finance. Okay. And here you can say if you want to show it, show the drive, or in this case, we'll leave the default, so it'll be okay. So that's our F drive. Now let's do our shared drive. So we go same process. I think we can copy this. So copy, paste. Okay. So we'll copy paste it. We'll edit it. Properties. So this will be finance. And I think we called the shared folder, we called it differently. So it's called general data. So let's copy that. And we'll call this general data. And let's put this the G drive. Same thing. And finally, we will put our sales drive. So edit, properties. So we know we call this one sales. Sales. And let's put this as the S drive. There we go. So, okay. So that's all you have to do for mapping the F, the G, and the S drive. So we can close this. Let's go back to GPO and maximize this. Right, so now if we refresh this, right-click refresh, you will see that we have the maps. You can see what it's called, and everything is in place. Secondly, we need to choose the scope. So, actually, you know what? I did it wrong, because this group policy is just for finance. So let's fix that, because otherwise it's going to map everything for these people. So let's edit it. Preferences, Windows settings, drive maps. So all we want is the finance drive. Okay. Let's refresh. Okay, sorry. There we go. F drive. So at the moment, the security filtering, it's actually saying authenticated users. So every user that can actually log into the server will have access to the F drive. Now we don't want that. We just want exactly just to be the finance group. So we remove the authenticated users. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes, we are. Press OK. Now that error was just saying, well, you need at least someone there. So don't worry, it's we're gonna get there. So if we go to add, and here we go. Once again, we go for access, check names, and this is the finance one. So we go access to finance drive, OK, and OK. So now everyone who is in this group who has access to the finance drive will be part of that group. Okay. Now, if you want, and this is completely optional. So as you recall, we have a group that says access all admin drives, which is for the administrators. Now, if as an administrator you want to map all the drives, go ahead and we can add the security filtering there for you as well for the access all admin drives. But you know, to be honest, if you were an administrator, you're going to spend half your day on the server anyway. So you don't need to literally map these drives as you have full access to the server. But like I said, if you want to, you can. Let's say, for example, there's, I don't know, an IT drive, and that is handy to have because you might have there your your scripts, and instead of going to the server copy pasting. But in the case of finance, it's not something an IT administrator would normally enter unless you want to change your payroll. So at this stage, we will not add ourselves. Now, finally, you have to say where in the organizational chart should this be applicable to. So at the moment, it's not applicable to anything, even though you've given access to the finance drive people. It doesn't know really where to look for these people. So as you can see here, you have the organizational group that we put in LevelUp networks. Okay, and here we got the staff, security groups, and distribution group. So we're going to put this right here in staff. So you can either drag and drop it. Okay, so we can just literally do this. Do you want to link it? Yes. Or if you want, you can manually add it here as well. But drag and drop it is probably the easiest way. Right, so that's the finance drive. So let's do the other two. I won't explain them because you've seen it. So we'll just copy and we'll paste. We'll use preserve the existing permissions because we're just going to literally edit the a few things. So let's pray OK. So it's going to copy everything. Okay, so here's the copy. So to rename this, you can right click and press rename. So share drive, and this will be sales, for example. Okay, so this one, if you recall, let's go back into sales. Properties, security. So we actually let everyone access sales because there's some handy information there like collateral, things as such. So we will leave that to all authenticated users. So let's add authenticated users. Just the first one. We're going to remove the finance. Okay. And then in settings, we just need to change the map drive we did. So edit, preferences, Windows settings, and drive maps. And we edit this, properties, S drive. This will be sales. And sales. Okay. Right, so that's that. So we go back to the scope. Okay, we need to add the location, so back to staff. That's fine. Okay, so now staff will have these two. Finally, we'll do the shared data one. The general data one. Copy, paste, preserve permissions. Okay. Rename this, and this will be general data. Okay. So general data, that's for literally everyone. So authenticated users, settings, drive maps, edit, preferences, Windows settings, drive maps, excuse me, properties. This will be G. This will be general data. Oh, sorry. General data, and I think that's the name of it. Let's go back to it. That's correct, so we'll copy it. Okay, and close this, go to the scope, and we move it to staff. Okay. Right, so you're probably wondering from the previous tutorial, we created within sales a marketing drive. Why haven't we added a group policy for marketing drive? Well, unless you strictly want to map a drive, say the M drive for marketing, there's no need because we already did the permissions here on the security, who has access to this, So people will have to go into the sales drive, then they'll see a folder for marketing, and only those people will be able to see this. Okay. Now there's tons of policy you can do. Another one you could say, for example, is the password policy. So password policy can be quite handy, just because you can say, all right, so I want the password to be a particular way, to renew itself or to expire every 90 days, for example. So let's create it just so you see another example. So if we go to new again, let's call it password policy. Now Windows already has one, but we're going to override that, and I'll show you where the Windows one is. So if we go to password policy, this will apply to all users. Settings, then edit. So this will be under computer policies. So essentially you have to go under policies, Windows settings, then security settings, and then we have to go excuse me, under account policies. Right, so here you can say the password policy, the account lockout policy. So we're going to go to password policy in this case. And here you can see the different options that you have. Okay, so let's go back into password policy. There, sorry. Okay, so password history. So the password history, that relates to how many previous passwords is it going to remember. So let's say, for example, that you use password 1, password 2, password 3, password 4, etc. You get the drift. So it's going to remember those. So if you say, for example, password 1, and you put the password history to be the last 3 passwords, okay? So if you put password 1, password 2, password 3, so on month number 4, you have to reset your password. It will not let you choose any of those passwords because those are the 3 last remembered passwords, okay? So in this case, I am not going to enable it because it's just going to complicate my life. So then we have the maximum password age. So this is essentially how long you want the password to last for. So how many days you want it to pass before a user needs to reset it. So we are going to enable this, and we're going to set it up for the maximum password age to be 3 months. So you just tick where it says define this policy setting, we put 90 days, and OK. OK again. So now it says 90 days. And as you can see, it's also put the minimum password age. So essentially what this means is that when a user resets their password, they will not be able to change it for 30 days. And they will have to change it on 90 days. So for 30 days to wait for a user to be able to change their password is a bit excessive. So I will change that. And I will remove this. Now, why would you, well, that has actually removed the maximum. Okay, let's reset this back to 90 days. Okay, and we'll put the minimum 1 day. So that means that they will have to wait 1 day before they can reset their password again, which is, I guess, is okay. I mean, if they forget their password in the same day after they reset it, which can happen, they'll just be calling your help desk to change it again. So this is where you start putting the security parameters as well. So the minimum password length. So how long does the password need to be? So best practices usually say 8 characters. So we will put just that. You can make it longer, but obviously remember that the more strict that you put the password, the harder it is for a user to reset it. So they'll probably make it as simple as possible for them. So even though you want security, if you overdo it, it can play against you. And then here in the password must meet complexity requirements. So what does that mean? So if you don't enable this, this means that what you put here, it's not going to work. So we are going to enable it. So for complexity requirements, it means that the standard one is that you need at least one capital letter, a number, and a special character. So we will enable that part as well. Now, you can store passwords using reversible encryption. I usually don't put it, once again, because this is a local environment. But if you want to, even though Windows will nonetheless put some encryption to the passwords, so you won't be able to read them. But this is to add yet another layer of security. So that's that part. So we refresh it just to make sure that everything's there. Perfect. We go to the scope. So this will apply to everyone. And we are going to put this once again in our staff. Perfect. Okay. So once you're happy with all your policies, excuse me, what you need to do is to make sure that you have, you propagate all the permissions across all the different computers, PCs, servers, etc., etc. So it's you can test this and to see if it's going to work. So the way you do that is with one of these in the bottom. We have group policy modeling, group policy results. So let's do group policy results. We're going to use the wizard. So next. So we want to check another computer because obviously in the server we don't really care too much for this. So we have one computer. I don't remember the name of it, so let's try to find it. And it's this one, the desktop. Okay. Next. So what this policy results wizard would do is that it will literally look at the policies that you set up and check if those policies will work on this particular PC. Now let me just double check that the actual PC is on. Give me a minute. It is, yes, fine. And we'll get to the PC in a minute, just so we can see how this actually works. Okay, so we're getting in there. I'll have a look at that in a minute and I'll tell you what I've done to fix it. So let's cancel this for a moment. I'm going to close group policy management. I'm going to close Active Directory. Then I'm going to open command prompt, which I've pinned to my taskbar already, and I'll run it as an administrator. So right click it, right click command prompt, run as administrator. Yes. And then we're going to run the command gp update space /force. Press enter. So this is going to push out all the policies to all the machines that are currently on your network, and it will probably ask us to log out to also apply it to the server. It hasn't in this case. Fantastic. Exit. Right, so let's open now our Windows 10. Now I'm thinking maybe the error was because, once again, like last time, our machine turned on before the server. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to restart this machine. Restart it. And then we're going to log in as one of the users. And we're going to see if it has mapped the drives for us. If not, we will troubleshoot it on camera so you can see what I've done to fix that. So we'll just wait for the machine to come back on. Shouldn't be too long. It's only Windows, not a server. Now I haven't logged in with the users before, so it will go through the whole welcome to Windows section. I may pause the video then, so you don't have to wait for it. I'll just see how quick it is. If it's quick enough, then I'll just leave it. And I'll try and fill in the blank as we load it. So yeah, so this one, if you recall, we added it to the domain on the previous tutorial. So we've only logged in at the moment as administrator, but then what I did after that is I created the user LevelUp admin, and I don't think I've logged in with it as of yet. So when it comes back out, we'll have a quick look. Nonetheless, we are not going to log in with the admin user. We are going to log in with a normal user. So, okay, so the machine's almost up and running. So it should take us to the login screen pretty shortly. So let's just wait a couple seconds. And let's see what happens. It is taking its time. It always happens when you're waiting, when you're recording. I'm going to pause the video right now, and I'll put it back on when we start recording. Okay, so it's back. So now, instead of logging in as administrator, we're going to go other user. And let's see, let's log in with the finance user. So I don't remember his name. So let's go back to Active Directory. And the staff member was actually her. So it's Sarah Black. Okay, so we will do as Black. Now, I did take out the tick to reset the password as when the user logs in, just to make this a bit quicker. So let's just log in. And here comes Sarah. So Sarah, in theory, she should have access to all the drives. She should have the map drive for finance, the map drive for general data, and the map drive for sales. So she should be able to go into the sales drive, but not into the marketing drive. So let's just double check her permissions while this loads. I will have a look on the server itself. So let's see. So Sarah Black, she's a member of, oh, well, she's actually marketing, so I put her title wrong. Fine. So let's change her as another marketing executive. Marketing executive. Okay. Let's see what Jack has. So Jack doesn't have access to anything. So let's put him. Yeah, leave him as that. And Tom. Let's put Tom as our finance controller. Thank God I checked, otherwise we wouldn't have seen the finance drive. So he is the financial controller. Okay, so let's go back to our Windows 10. Let's see if that's loaded. Okay, it's almost there. So this part usually is quick. So yeah, so to recap, because I mislabeled Sarah, we're not going to get the finance. So in theory, because she's only had access to marketing, she will only have access to the general data drive, the sales drive, and within the sales drive, she should be able to access the marketing drive. So then what we'll do after we log in with Sarah and test that, we will log in with the other two users so you can see how the map drives are looking for them. So fingers crossed, let's hope it worked. So if we go to File Explorer, in theory, if the group policy that we did worked, we should see the C drive, possibly the optical drive. Yeah, I think because I'm running the VirtualBox additions, and also the two drives for sales and general data. Oh my gosh, it's so slow. I'll need to check the settings on I think I lowered the RAM and the cores for this one. So let's have a look. So if we go to this PC, wow, really slow. Okay, well, anyways, they're there. So as you can see here, as I said, we have the C drive, the optical drive, and the 2 shared drives, but finance is not there. So let's see if she can go in to each drive. So yep, there's nothing there. Let's create a phantom file. This is a test file, and let's put a new folder and just leave it as a new folder. Fine. So under sales, in theory, should be able to go to collateral marketing. So can we create? Yeah, we're in marketing. Perfect. Another test file. Perfect. Presentations and quotes. Amazing. That worked. Okay. So now let's log off. Well, let's go to Twitch user. Sarah Black. Switch user. And let's see who our finance controller is. Give me a minute. So that's Tom Smith. So Tom Smith should have access to everything but the marketing drive. So T Smith, password for this person. And yes, I will pause it here just because I don't want to go through the whole welcome to Windows. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I wanted to test it before I showed you, and there actually was a problem. So the finance drive was not mapping for Tom. So I went back into the group policy. So I'll show you. So I went back to the group policy objects where it says the shared drive finance, and I had to add authenticated users. Now, this is normally because when you assign the link, you don't assign it directly to the staff, you would assign it to the, because they're computer settings. So if we go here, it wouldn't apply for the actual user, even though it is a user configuration. So we don't have the computers here. So because we did it on the organizational unit for all staff, we had to enable it for all authenticated users. Now what that's going to do is that it's going to map the drive for all the users, okay? But it's only going to give access to the people that have access. So let's go back into Tom's profile. And here we go. So if we log in as Tom, okay, we're Tom, yeah. And we go into File Explorer. So as you can see, Tom has all the drives, as he should, finance, general, and sales. So if we go to finance, not a problem. We can create and do stuff here. So let's create a file. Not a problem. But if we go to sales and we try to go into collateral, that's fine, as it should be. And then quotes, that's absolutely fine. But if we try to go into marketing, now because he's not part of the marketing group, it doesn't let us, okay, as you can see. So we know Tom works, but let's check Sarah. So Sarah, I logged her out and logged her back in while I had the video paused, just so the group policy would propagate. So I'll sign out Tom, and we will go and see Sarah. There she is. So Sarah, we log in as her. All right, we're there. And File Explorer. So as you can see, she also has a finance drive, but it's not showing any disk space. So general, sales, all there. So if we go into finance, it should not let her in, and we don't. Perfect. Okay. So another thing that is handy to know. So because we, when we joined the domain, we obviously set up users with their adequate permissions, and then we set up admin. So that means that all normal users will just be local users. Sorry, not local users, but they'll just be normal users on the PCs as well, and they will not have administrator access. So obviously they'll still be able to do a lot of tasks, but let's say, for example, you want to run command prompt and you want to run this as administrator. So what's going to happen is that Windows is going to detect in the background if you are an administrator, and if you're not, it's going to prompt you to put either the local administrator username and password or the domain local administrator. So in this case, we're going to use the domain admin, and you will see how then it will open the command prompt as an administrator, as you can see. Okay. Well, there's many more policies you can play around with. These are just the basic ones. Obviously, feel free to explore on your favorite browser through Google or your favorite search engine for more policies that you can apply. But you can more or less do everything through policy, from choosing a background for all the users if you want to put your corporate logo as the background and prohibit users from changing it. You can also configure your favorite browser and your favorite tabs. I mean, there's tons of things. So it's definitely worthwhile getting more informed and doing some research on what other policies are. Okay, well, thank you much for watching. This tutorial was a bit longer than I would like it to be, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Take care. To get the latest tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until then, take care.